to Streams of Income. Hosted by best-selling author and entrepreneur, Dr. David Powers, where we discuss streams of income, passive income, residual income, and even why there are dinosaurs and zombies in this intro. Fasten your seatbelts and get ready to dive in.
Hey guys, Dr. Dave here. I just wanted to film a quick intro, and you'll see this intro for I don't know how many podcasts, but we were hit by Hurricane Helene last week here in upstate South Carolina. And so before I say anything else, let me just say that we were incredibly blessed. Minor damage to the house, just a few leaks here and there, some shingles off, that kind of thing. Our big pecan tree went down that we had the kids' swings and stuff in, but honestly, that's the worst. We've been without power now for 7 days, but that's more of an irritation because thinking about people north of me, about an hour north of me, Asheville, North Carolina, we got Boone, Chimney Rock, Lake Lure, places like that. I'm absolutely devastated. And there are still 7 days in, I'm without power. 7 days in up there, though, there are still people that can't get out. There are places that can only be reached by helicopter. So before I say anything else, I'm blessed. But I just wanted to do a quick intro because I'm going to throw this intro on all the podcasts that I film while we're in this state. And that way, hopefully you'll understand if the mic's not as good, if the room is dark. I mean, right now I am working off of sunlight coming through my windows and a Ryobi flashlight. And we've been having to go into town to sit in the downtown square. And they've actually got some outlets and things in the little gazebo at the downtown square. And so that's where I go pray on Tuesday mornings anyway. And so we've been going into town to charge either there or at the city recreational gym. They've been opening the gym up for open gym times for kids to come and play pickleball, volleyball, basketball. The local grocery store, Ingles, has been supplying food, and they've been giving out sandwiches, things like that, which is really tremendous because one of the large Ingles grocery store chain distribution centers was in Asheville. And from what I've seen with pictures, it was destroyed. I mean, once you get water into a place like that, and when I say water, I'm talking, 10 feet of water into a grocery distribution center, it is all garbage at that point. And so the fact that we're still able to get food at our grocery store is a blessing. So I just want to let you know these next podcasts that you see with this intro are what I call the hurricane sessions. I've got my phone hooked up to a battery pack right now, running the phone. And for internet, I'm still really blessed. I mean, internet's out, but I've been able to run a hotspot off my phone to the laptop and, just to check a few things here and there and then turn it off. But hey, just think about everybody that you see. If by the time you watch this podcast, I mean, some of these podcasts are going to be several weeks old that I'm filming during this time. By the time you see it, though, you can probably still count on people in Western North Carolina needing help. And so if you want to get in touch with me by then, I mean, I've got a handle right now on distribution centers locally in my town where we can take things and they're shipping them north. They're flying them north. Our little airport, you can sometimes hear the planes going overhead. It's just a little county airport. There are actually people flying in from all over the country in their private planes, crammed full of groceries and diapers and bottled water, things like that. Dropping them off at our tiny little airport, and from there, the sheriff's department is trucking them north. The local rednecks with their pickup trucks are trucking things north. I've got a friend in town that was actually reaching out to the local running club to see if there were any folks there willing to load up backpacks and ruck supplies into some of the areas that are only reachable through the woods right now. Most of the roads got washed out. The interstate itself got washed out. I-40, a lot of the bridges, they're still finding bridges that are washed out, unusable. And so I apologize for the really long intro here. Just wanted to let you know what's going on and why these podcasts coming soon may be different, and also hopefully get you guys to pitch in a little bit and throw some help this way. I'm not asking for anything for myself. By the time you see this, I'll probably have power back on. Everything's going to be back to normal for me. But if you want to help, just get in touch and I'll direct you to one of the organizations that's taking supplies north. Or if you want to come and join in, anybody that's willing, I can put you up here on the farm. I got places where you can throw a tent and stay a day or two and then head north and help people out. And so just love to get anybody I can involved in that. All right, so this is Dr. Dave signing out. I hope you enjoy the podcast that you are about to see on YouTube or listen to wherever you choose to listen to them. And go ahead and sign out. Let me find the record button here on my phone. Everything's different now. Hey guys, Dr. Dave here. I wanted to do a quick intro for this podcast. This is one of the hurricane sessions. Today's podcast I'm going to be recording is with Wendy Melrose. Now, I've known Wendy for a very long time. Goodness, probably a decade at least. Here's the crazy thing, though, about a lot of our friends these days is that I've known her for a very long time, but I've never met her. At least I don't think I have. She is part of what I call the Dan Miller Alumni Club. All the friends, the amazing friends and contacts and acquaintances I have met over the years through Dan Miller. Now, Dan isn't with us anymore, but honestly, check out his stuff. He's got some amazing stuff, especially on careers and finding your passion in life. And one of the greatest legacy things, though, that he made in my life was to introduce me to amazing people. Some of the best friends I have in life come from that Dan Miller Alumni Club. And Wendy Melrose, who we're about to talk to, is one of them. I hope you enjoy this podcast. And everything's a little weird now, still without power from the hurricane. And so I'm not used to finding the Zoom buttons on my phone. So let me stop this recording. And then this next thing you see will be the actual recorded podcast. I promise. I promise it really will. All right, everybody, you're here for another Streams of Income podcast, and we are here with Wendy Melrose. And Wendy is man, we've been friends probably over a decade now, and from the Dan Miller stuff, right?
Yep.
That's right, because there's like this whole, I call it the Dan Miller Alumni Club. All my best friends in the world and some of my longest friends in the world that I still like. There's something cool that I don't like. But they all come from Dan Miller. I mean, but remind me, though, and this may seem like a weird question. We've never met in person, have we, at any of his events or anything?
I do not think so, unless you were at the sanctuary back in like October of 2009.
And I don't even remember. And there were always so many cool people at those. You tried to get around and meet everybody, but you never had time.
No, that was the one. Devin Gino was there.
Okay, I know I wasn't at that one then because I've never met her.
Yeah, so that was the only one I made there, and then I started following Kevin more, and I went to a couple of his events. One of his events, I would like to say the word couple, but no.
Yeah. See, that's funny too, because I went out to Colorado to one of Kevin's events. I only made it to one because it was so far away, but I met different people there that I knew online that had never met in person before.
That's so fun, and it's such a great little. And what's neat is that even now, since Dan's passing, I'm getting to know more people that knew Dan. And I'm like, I mean, even when we didn't know each other, we know each other. Yeah. Because it's like we're from the same father.
Yeah. Yep. And like Sheila Davis, that I guess for years she ran a lot of Dan's marketing and stuff. I didn't know her and actually like digitally met her the other day. Ryan Rieger gave me this podcast and group and everything, and I realized she's an admin on the Facebook page. I'm like, oh, I guess we should talk. It's just weird. All right, so on to you. So how about first, let's talk about what you're doing now, streams of income wise, and then let's go through the whole gamut of, because I'm guessing you're like me and you've tried everything to see what works and fits the passion and the family at the time, but you finally hit on something that works for now.
Right.
Because we'll probably both change in a year or two. We'll find something else. But so what are you doing now for money?
So I'm helping everyone who has wanted to write a book or it has written a book and hasn't done anything with it. Like even this week, I've met 3 people that are like, yeah, I've got a book. I never did anything with it. And I'm like, why don't we get across that finish line? So I'm more calling myself a writing and self-publishing facilitator, because my thing is I want to get them across that finish line. I'm not here to take rights. I'm not here to I want to speak the authentic truth about the publishing world, which is full of snakes and wolves.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I like that. So you're not ghostwriting, because there's who's that? Kent Sanders, I think one of our Dan Miller friends, does ghostwriting, but you're helping people do what so many people say they wanted to do all their lives.
Yeah.
To get that book out of them.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, really, but if they need help with accountability, I'll help them. So I've got one client that I am helping with that. And I told her, you could pay me for a year and you get one book done, or we get all 5 of them done. Your choice. and we'll run as fast as you can write. And so, so we finished one in 77 days. And then because they also have a construction company and a little, what I call a hobby farm, keeping animals alive during the summertime is a little difficult. So I'm like, okay, now that it's getting cooler, let's get back on goals.
Yeah.
So, and then most other people, it's like they have the book, but they just needed it, edited, formatted, cover design on KDP. Some people want to have, some books from a local printer. So I've got a local printer here in St. Louis that will do 50 to 100 book runs, and not that expensive either. Around $4.25 a book, depending on what how thick it is and things like that. So
yeah.
So that's really fun. And then we get it up on KDP, and I make sure that they do their own logins for Valker, get their ISBNs, their own login for copyright, their own login for KDP. And I tell them the main thing is that I don't ever plan on being dishonest, but we're protecting each other from each other.
Yeah. In the book world, that's been, I remember the old days when I was little, the vanity publishing, and I guess it's probably still out there. But, a lot of people got took with some of those things.
Yeah. Yeah. And, now you've got people who call themselves self-publishing companies, but they charge, $15,000, $25,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000.
Oh.
I'm like, for what?
Yeah. And most people are never going to make that back.
No, they won't. They will never. Like I tell people, if you are the next, I don't do nonfiction, but it's an easy one to bring up with J.K. Rowling, or if your name is already Tony Robbins, you're not talking to me anyway.
Yeah.
So, like, if you think that a publishing company is going to pick you up and you're George Smith from South nowhere, United States, they're not going to do it because they want to have a sure win, and so they want the following first, and so. That's kind of where I'm like, I have to just help an author launch on the first. And, she had a lot of people that said they were coming to the launch party and they didn't show. And so she was full of disappointment. And one of the best things I learned from that class Vincent had 2 weeks ago with Kevin Thompson on there, when you remove yourself from the results and you just show up and take action, it's like, I go, look, if she called me or texted me, Tuesday morning, it's like, can we pray? I'm like, yeah, what's wrong? Because we prayed last night. Not that you can't pray continuously, but the point is like
something came up.
Oh, what's going on? She goes, I'm just so like, what if I made this a bigger deal and it is, and it's not gonna go worldwide and all this, that, the other. And so then I told her what Kevin Thompson taught us. And I'm like, you're going to have to remove yourself from the results because God is going to do what he's going to do in the timing of which he is going to do it. So
Yep.
And we talked yesterday, and I'm like, she goes, is this normal to sell 10 books here, 10 books there? And I'm like, yes. And I go, and now just with all marketing, the key is in the follow-up. So everyone that said that they wanted a book, follow up with them. Everyone who said they had connections to get this approved in China, follow up with them.
Yeah.
So it's like, we can't, no one's going to, people get busy and they forget. So, so that's kind of what I'm doing is, all of that fun stuff.
Yeah. I love KDP I like to write a lot, and I do a lot of public domain stuff too, where I republish it, I modify it and republish it. And it's been one of my best passive income streams. Where I do the work once, and it's great for that. But I've found a lot of people, a book is not so much, they're not wanting to get rich off of it or don't think they will, but it's a labor of love. Like they've got a story in, what was it Dan used to say? You have a song inside you that needs to come out or something. And that's what I've found. Like you say, remove yourself from the results. Look at this amazing thing you produced, this book, and be proud of that.
Right. And when you never know, it's funny because people will say go to college because it shows that you have the ability to learn and finish something. Well, the same thing's true with writing a book. So often people are like, yeah, I started it, I didn't finish it. And it's like, do you have the ability to actually sit down long enough to get it done? And what's funny is people are like, oh, I want to make sure it's 200 pages. And I'm like, I mean, less words is better if you're able to, in my opinion. Like, who wants to read 200 pages if you could have said it in 100?
Yep.
I mean, maybe I just don't like books that much. I don't
know. You like to write books.
I do like reading, but I do want them to get to the point. Like, don't just take me on this little, I mean, if the journey has purpose, take me on a journey. But if I can just go straight ahead without going the wrong way, go straight there.
Yeah. Yeah. In the group, in Vincent's group that you're a member of now, he had the guy that wrote QBQ, John Miller.
Okay.
And his original book for QBQ was like 3 times as long, and it didn't really take off. And so when he cut it down to around 150 pages and republished it as QBQ, it was even a shorter title.
Nice.
And it took off, and now it's like this bestseller for 20 years.
Well, that's super cool.
Yeah, people just need to get to the point.
You do. I mean, well, there was one time people are like, oh, you have to pick up this Bible study. It's just so beautiful. I bought it. Luckily enough on Amazon, you can return because I returned it. Because it was literally, it wanted to create so many word pictures that I literally couldn't stand it anymore. I'm like, what are you trying to say? You're like, and I'm talking about like using words that I would never use on a daily basis to explain, to try to create the scene. And I'm just like, you could just say dog, house, truck, and I would get the point instead of like giving me all these fancy words to create the scene that I would rather not picture. But maybe that's just me.
No, I mean, that's part of your work is like an editor, getting people to realize that here's what works. Because everybody thinks that their stuff is perfect. And then you turn it over to an editor and they're like, the red marks all the way through.
Yeah.
And it's like, let's boil this down. But I mean, what you're doing helps people create a more profitable book. I mean,
right.
Like I said, nobody wants to read Gone with the Wind if it's just about, your grandma or whatever.
That's so funny.
So you're doing the book thing now. What take us through the history of streams of income for Wendy? Like, what all have you done? And because I keep asking everybody, because I've been there, are there any multi-level marketing things in your background? Because a lot of entrepreneurs have tried those and realized, you know what, I don't like that. I don't like selling stuff. I don't like the whole pyramid thing.
Yeah.
So what all have you done over the years?
Oh man, well, outside of regular W-2s, which obviously I've done, which is why, because of all the different categories that we'll go into in just a second, from the age of 16 to 46, so the last 30 years, I think I've had over 35 jobs.
Yeah.
Because, and people are just like, what? And I'm like, well, because sometimes I do more than one thing.
Yeah.
I'll be doing 5 things that are producing income, but may not be, so like now I'm focusing this is my primary focus now. And so it's like, okay, like I need the floodgates of heaven to open up because I'm trying to really stay focused. So, well, I was working 1099 for a water remediation company over the summer that I thought was turning into like something where we could partner and do like investment and create extra things, but that didn't work out. And so, I was doing events this past spring. I did an event and someone's like, I had a coach that's just like, oh, events are the way to go. And so I was going that direction to literally lose 20 grand this past spring because I didn't, like, another friend of mine who's a coach in Wyoming, she's like, he should have never have led you that way because you don't have a following. It's the same way with people wanting to sell 1 million books in a day. Unless you have 2 million followers, you're not going to do that.
Yeah.
And so just like I wanted to fill up my event with, 30 to 30 people, I had 4. I had 2 high ticket paid and 2 others. And so it was frustrating to me. And it was because I didn't have a following. So I think I'm finally over the trauma of doing that. I'm like, I'm never doing events again. I think I might, but it would have to be for sure God telling me and not some coach who wants my money.
Yeah. So, there's so many of these opportunities that everybody's, you can make a lot of money, but unless you just have the numbers, the sheer number of followers, they just won't work.
No. And then before that, so then for 4 years, from 19 to 2023, I was a farmers insurance agency owner.
Okay.
So, so that was a really neat opportunity. I was a seed agent, which meant the book was given to me, and then I had to prove I could keep it. So then I proved I could keep it. And then last summer, God graciously rang, the phone rings like, hey, you want to sell? And I'm like, give me a number. Yeah. I went out. So then I sold that last summer. So that was a really neat little like feather in my cap that I had to, receive, keep, and sell. The government also loved that capital gains tax, which was a little
man.
Like, well, it's fine. Better in this administration than what's coming. And so then, let's see here. While I was an agent, I tried to stay pretty focused. I'm trying to think if I did anything on the side, but I have built websites for people. Not necessarily, a lot of this I just did sole proprietor, like on the side, I knew how to do it. So build websites. Yeah. The MLM wise, there's essential oils. There's well, I mean, I can name companies if you want me, or we can keep them.
Oh, no. I just
so essential oils. Another one was like a non-toxic house products.
Yeah.
That one I did when I was in my 20s. That didn't go anywhere. And then I still get paid with the essential oils, but it mainly just because I'm a product user and there's people that I've shared with over time.
Yeah.
So those are the two MLM ones. I didn't hate it, but the problem is that it's super time consuming because it's like, one, just like with everything, and I also used to be a financial advisor for a large company. My brother and I were in 2008 together. This is before I met Dan Miller. And I'm like, we realized everything is about more names. Yeah. And it is still today, but now I'm learning it's more about relationships. So, and it's the same with everything, but when you get into fear, you panic, and then you're trying to like, hey, buy what I have. And so, I also, after my daughter was born, I studied and became a doula. So I did that for about 5 births. So that was some income.
Yeah. And, are we talking like home births?
So I did attend one home birth, but most of it was just advocacy in the hospital realm. So, but now in St. Louis, like, I don't know about where you guys live, but St. Louis in and of itself was, which to see now in Missouri, midwifery has become more and more acceptable. And so now they're allowed to go into some of the hospitals too. So if you have a transfer, they can still stay with the mother. So a lot has happened in the last 12 years. And I believe it's just because of the people that have worked with the state and with the hospitals to build trust that not always is the hospital way better. So it's there for a reason, but it doesn't have to be the primary thing. Right. So I did that, and that's kind of where, so when I went to Dan Miller's event, I can't remember, I was doing something with, I think, house cleaning or something. So I've also cleaned houses, but then just like Dan taught us, like, there's a difference between a business and being chief bottle washer. So, and everything I've ever done, I've been a chief bottle washer. And I guess technically I still am, but I don't really feel like it because it doesn't feel like work to me. Yeah. So
and that's where you want to get to.
Right. So it's like, could I hire, could I like outsource some things eventually? I could, but, right now I want to keep the income closer to me because I need it. So, once I get to the point where there's enough flowing in, I can outsource it and it won't hurt me. So, let's think. House cleaning, financial advising, insurance, life insurance, property and casualty, the website building. I don't know, man. Like, just name it. And then I've worked in restaurants, which isn't still W2-ish, but you're kind of working a business because you have to do well.
Yeah.
or you don't get tips.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, and mainly what I wanted to get at was just that, I mean, as entrepreneurs, we try a lot. It's almost never are you going to try the one thing as an entrepreneur, and that's going to be it for the rest of your life.
No.
I mean, even Dan Miller did a lot of different things, and he always talked about those. And so I like to encourage people that are listening to us talk that you need to experiment. Like, don't be afraid of trying different things. Don't be afraid of a new job, a new business, things like that, because you got to keep doing it until you find your thing.
Right. Right. Gary Vaynerchuk just said that. I watch his reels every now and then, and he just had one where he missed out on the opportunity to invest in be an initial investor with Uber. And he goes, I just bought a place in New York and I didn't really, he wasn't as liquid as he wanted to be. And so I said, no. And he goes, it was a loss, a $500 million loss by not choosing to do that. He goes, but I love it. And why do I love it? He goes, because entrepreneurship is a whole bunch of bad decisions and screw ups. And every now and then there's a success.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Yep. Ooh, and let me draw a neat comparison for you. You went from the doula thing, birthing babies, to now you help people birth books.
Oh, hey. I may have to make that a part of my bio.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. So, have there been any books come out yet that you can tell us about? Or
sure. So, I mean, even if of myself, I've written and published 6 of my own in the last year.
Okay. Wow.
So yeah,
that's more than most people publish in a lifetime.
I know. Well, that's kind of where I'm at, is like when people say it takes 1.5 years, 2 years to publish a book, and I'm like, it doesn't.
Right.
Unless you want it to.
Yeah.
So, and granted, yes, I focus on the children's book sector. But so like I have written, here, I'm going to show everybody my nice table in the background. Sorry for my life, but
it's an entrepreneur's table. That's what it is.
Well, my things kids put stuff up there. So I don't have all my books out here, but I've got, so this one was this past spring. It's Dr. Bones Healthy Safari. So this is about a children's book on a safari about like importance of, taking care of our body and our spine. This past January, I launched Strong Girl, You Are Loved.
Oh, I like that.
Oh, it's so fun. It's a series of short stories that I wrote. They're from my life, either my childhood or, as my kids, but Briella is the main character of the whole thing. And so this is fun for tween girls. And then I wrote Ben's Great Escape and Ben's Big Move. So those are about the Andean bear that kept escaping the St. Louis Zoo in the spring of last year, of 2023. And so Ben's Big Move, because he moved down to Brownsville, Texas, because they were able to keep him in his habitat there. There was a moat. They knew that he was going to be okay. So so I wrote and illustrated those. And that's actually how I learned how to publish, because I contacted our friend James Woosley, and I'm like, hey, like, can you help me? And he goes, well, I can, but I can teach you how to do it cheaper. So that's
funny. I contacted James for the same thing about audiobooks, and it's his business. And he was like, man, I'll teach you how to do it.
Yeah. So that's why I have so many free things on my website for people. If they want to do it, if they do not, we all know that you either know how to do it or want to learn to do it, have the time to do it, or don't have the time to do it.
Yeah. And
where they don't have the time to do it is where they hire all of us.
Yep.
Or they just don't want to learn it. So, and then, so there was also Peanut Butter and Jesus, which I don't think I've got a copy of that out here by me. That's
are you on Amazon under Wendy Melrose, or is there a pen name?
I'm actually under Soel Love Books, SOELLOVE Books. And so that's because my pen name is Soel Love, SO for Sophia, EL for Elliot, my 2 kids. So
perfect. So I'll put a link to your author page on the show notes.
Okay. Yeah, and then so like the doc, I'll have to see if I'll have to make sure Soel Love is, I think they should all be on there. But then I'm able to help other authors. So like I've helped Ashley Burkeen. She finished hers on Love to Unstoppable. And then there's a couple others that are still working on finalizing it, which is fun. But they're on their own pages, and you don't have to like do anything with that. But it's fun to see people get across their finish lines.
Yeah, yeah. Now, here's a question for you that scares a lot of people away, I would assume, is the illustrations for your children's books. Did you do those, or how'd you get those done?
I did.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is fun. And it kind of, and you know, of course, I'm my worst critic. I'm like, oh, I don't know if they're any good. People are like, oh, I really love these. But I'm also learning how to really use Canva really well. And use their stuff and layer and subtract and add. And so I'm actually, the lady who just launched, well, she used somebody to create like a digital watercolor for her pages, but there was some things we needed to change about it. So I did is I uploaded it into Canva, and then you can grab images. And so then we were able to move things around. It's amazing to me what we can, and I know hand illustrations are great, but hand illustrations are really expensive.
Yeah.
So to me, the problem is people are like, oh, then I'll just do it on Canva. Fine, but in order to use Canva, you have to layer it, or they won't want you to go to use it for professional use. But then two, if it looks flat, no one's going to really like it anyway. So you really have to do a good job of layering it really well. Like, you know, I've started to explain, like, one of the things I'm working on is like a tractor, and it fills a lot of people inside the cab. Yeah. And so my daughter's like, why is that? I go, because the tractor is so big, it could fit the whole world in there. So I widened out. I removed the background of the window and put all the people in there, and then put like a little bit of glass foam over it. And so it's faster than drawing it all by hand and erasing and coloring. And so, yeah.
Well, that's cool. And so, I mean, I don't have an eye for design. So, I mean, but you having that skill, it helped you design their book covers, or at least give them advice for it and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I love doing the book covers. So like I have a degree in interior design and architecture. So I just have a natural, this like love for creativity. Yeah. So now that I've, you know, figured out how to really help book covers come to life, I do love doing it. You know, like I tell people, well, what I come up with, you know, it took for hers, like it took several little bits to get to this, but I also really tried my best to work on it when the Holy Spirit's like telling me like, okay, now go modify this and and they end up loving it, which is super fun. So
yeah, that's cool. And so I didn't know that about your college degree either. And people might say, well, you don't do interior design. That was a waste of money, but it led to what you enjoy doing now. I mean, you've got an eye for color and design and things that was cultivated in college that you're using now, even though you're not doing interior.
Right. Well, it's funny because for the longest time, I was super aggravated the fact that I had, you know, an architecture degree and interior design degree, when in reality, had I listened to what the Lord wanted me to do, I probably wouldn't have went that way, even though I didn't really know what he wanted me to do at 18. Yeah. But like I tell my children, I'm like, I go, we're not going to go to college just to go. We have to make sure it's a real, you know, what God's calling is on your life. But he has used it all the time, especially the architecture side of it in my work in building documents and space and understanding, because I did work in the field for a while in big box retail. Well, when you're in insurance, you have to understand, you know, building structures, and when you go into do a commercial policy, where you're going to find the fire riser and all those things. So nothing is, most of the time, God will use everything you've learned over your lifetime for his glory. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Because a lot of people think, you know, just they look at wasted years. Yeah. And though you might not have been doing exactly the right path, it's not wasted. It's still going to be used. If nothing else, it's learning what not to do, or you get some neat stories, or you just make connections, like you mentioned earlier, relationships.
Right. Exactly. It's so true.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty cool. And I'm glad you're in that membership group with us now, because once Dan passed, I guess in a way lost touch with some of the people that I kept getting in touch with through him. And now that groups like Vincent's and other places like that, it's like we're all finding new meeting places.
I know. it is really neat. And it's funny because there's even, I think there's, I don't know exactly. There was some sort of, I guess, writing group that he had that I knew someone in there, and it's funny when when you're friends with people in a group for 15 years, you're like, how did I meet you? Oh, Dan Miller. I'm like, oh, really? On the 48 days. Like, I never went in there. So, but she's like, oh, yeah, I remember you from being in there. I'm like, man, I haven't logged into that group since like 2010.
Yeah. Yep.
It's
funny that way. And so let's see. I completely lost my train of thought. Oh, you know what? Before I forget, where should people get in touch with you? Is it wendymelrose.com or what's your website?
The easiest way actually is inthezone.live.
Inthezone.live?
Yeah, you can click on the call with Wendy. Or I'm actually probably in the next week having the website redone. But there'll be a way to get a hold of me. Or you can find me on Facebook. I think it's just Wendy Melrose on there. Let me see if my middle initial's on there or not. Let's see here. I don't know if it'll tell me. Well, anyway, pretty sure it's just Wendy Melrose, or and it might have a little bracket at the back that says Sutter. So if you find that, and you'll know it's me because I have everything. Like, I'm showing my book. I've got my In the Zone like header. So
okay.
And I'm a pretty open person, so you can say hello.
I love that wasn't an easy answer how to get in touch with you, because it's it shows two things. I mean, number one, you're finding business without Vincent always talks about it. Like, you don't have to have all the tech and all these software programs and everything perfect. If you're making connections, that's where you're going to get the business. I mean, if you get bigger, you can do the software and the fancy websites and everything later. But man, as long as you make phone calls and get in touch with people.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do have a go high, it's like a funnel and go high level right now. But I've met somebody yesterday that's like, hey, I can build the website and you can have your funnel, whatever, and it'll be cheaper. And I'm like, what's the catch? Because usually people are like, it'll be $5,000 upfront fee, and be like,
Yep. Yeah, I've got some friends that have gone to go high level. I always did the ClickFunnels thing, and I've got so much in there. I hate leaving, but so I hesitate to even recommend one anymore because I think Vincent uses Kartra.
Yeah, maybe. My thing is that just use whatever makes sense for you financially, and that you can figure out. Like, to me, I think a lot of our brains are so wired so differently. You have to whatever user face is going to make sense for your brain to know how to go in and keep going forward.
Yeah. So. I mean, it's weird in the 90s. If you didn't have a fancy web page with flash graphics and everything, you just weren't there. And nowadays, though, it's okay to just have your Facebook page and a private Facebook group, and all for free, and you can run an entire business out of that.
Yeah, it's super fun. Well, people will be like, do you have a business page, like a Facebook business page? I'm like, no, I made my Facebook personal page a pro page. And so there. And so, like, and then, because I can run ads through, it's constantly saying, hey, push this for $30.
Yeah.
I'm like, if you could tell me you would push it to 10,000 people for $30, I would. But not for 1,000. That's silly.
Yep. Yeah, I remember when Facebook ads were so much easier. Now everybody's doing them. Used to, you could do a tiny little bit of money on a Facebook ad and it would hit a lot of people, but nowadays it's just different. Things keep changing on us. As we get older, we don't like change as much.
No, I know, and it's funny is I've already adopted back in my day, it wasn't this expensive. I sound like my grandpa. Yeah.
And when we first met, all my beard was red, and it's just not that way anymore.
I'm really liking these highlights. That's super fun.
Somebody told me it looked like a rocket ship taking off.
Well, I mean, you are a little fiery.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So let's see. Is there anything I've missed that you want to throw out there that I've not asked about? We covered the book company, and I'll throw everything in the show notes, how to get in touch with you. Anything you want to get across, though, that I've not thought to ask?
I think we've covered most of it. My main thing is that, when some people are just like, you never want to write a book in the flesh. You want to write it in the spirit. And even if you're not a Christian, or you know the difference between, when it's time and when you're forcing it. And it's like when you're forcing it, then you'll get, the proverbial writer's block. And it's like, to me, like, if my best guidance is that if you've been called to do something and to write it, then just do it. Now, just also keep in mind, just because you write it doesn't mean they'll come, because the field of dreams is a lie.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean, because I sat down the other day when the power went out. I went up outside on the porch and sat down with the laptop, and Spirit was there, because I wrote like 2,500 words in an hour without even really thinking about it.
Yes.
And other times, though, 100 words, I'll sit there and get distracted, and squirrels and everything else. And I definitely know what you mean. I hate forcing it. Sometimes I just have to tell myself, my brain is fried. Just put it down, go watch Netflix or something.
Yeah, well, it's so true. And you experience what I call outside time, because when you become outside time, it's amazing how fast you can get something done.
Yeah. Yeah. So. That's amazing. So that, I assume that's kind of what you help do sometimes, just coaching people on that part of the process and everything.
Right. Well, because I think a lot of times we put so much pressure on ourselves, either to do that amount of pages, or it has to have this amount of chapters, or we have to get it perfect. And it's amazing, Grammarly Pro will clean it up, just dump it out. So It's like, or, if you want to hire an editor for $3,000, you can do that too. Or just use Grammarly Pro, you'll be all right.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, I do my best. And a lot of times, I'll offer prayer as well. And so it's helpful to help calm people down. And so it's fun.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. I'll tell you what, as we get ready to wrap up, I have one final question I always ask everybody.
Okay.
So if money wasn't an issue, you didn't have to worry about the income, and you had to drop everything except for one income stream. So it could be one you've done before, one you're doing now, or your dream income stream. What would it be? What would you do for the rest of your life?
I'm pretty close to what I'm wanting to do. The rest of your life's a long time, David. I've never done anything more than 5 years. But if outsourcing the stuff I don't particularly agree with is allowed, then I really would do this. I'm enjoying it. Like, it's a lot of fun helping people, finish something that they've always wanted to do. Something gratifying in that I've never done before. And I feel like it's the first time I've ever done something that I don't feel is particularly risky. Which is peaceful, because, man, insurance is full of risk and errors. And it's like, to me, if we don't get it right the first time, so we'll do a second edition. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah, no, I like that. So you're happy doing what you're doing, but your dream would be outsourcing the boring parts, the parts you don't want to do, and just really focusing on the, what your strengths are there. But doing that over this whole enterprise.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that would be super fun. If I could really increase this, it provides for my family. My husband can quit his job. That's what matters to me. And if I could, plus it's a real calling to me to help people avoid the lies of the publishing world. Because I just hear people spending way too much money, getting told all of these things will happen. To me, if I can save someone from spending money they don't need to spend, then that's worth it as well.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. Hey, you brought up a curiosity. Now, what does your husband do for a living?
So he is a machine operator and makes high-end refrigerators, like metal for the high-end refrigerators.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, yeah. And he's, he'll be 54 next month, and his body's tired. Like, he's tired of standing on concrete 10 hours a day. So if I can just get him home. All
right,
I don't care what you do.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to ask. You don't have to answer this if it would tell too much about him, but with a lot more free time, what would he do? Is he going fishing or just enjoying sitting down?
Well, I really think I would encourage him to do what he would love to do, and that would be go work at animal rescues or like,
yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
He loves pets. And I'm like, I don't care where you work, where there's animals, just don't bring any home.
We don't want no more kids, no more animals. We're good.
No more kids, no more animals.
No, that's pretty cool because that's why I asked that. I find most everybody has a, I don't know if you call it a hobby, but a thing that is almost like work, but it's a labor of love kind of work that if you had more time, you'd love to do.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think he would just love it because one, it's like, you know how it always is. You think like, oh man, I can't wait to do nothing. And so when I sold my business last year, I had that time to do nothing. Man, you talk about disease of the brain. I was just like, I was so restless. And I'm like, why can't I enjoy the fact that I don't have to do something today? Like I turned on a movie. I didn't have any worries, but I was full of the most amount of anxiety I'd ever been filled with.
Yeah, I don't get people that can like do unlimited nothing and they're okay with that. Like it would drive me crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, and it's funny. I don't ever see myself retiring. I don't find it biblically sound either.
Yeah.
So it's
there's
like
no retirement in the Bible.
It's like it doesn't say we're gonna retire. It doesn't mean that you have to go, build the pyramids your whole life. But it does mean you are created for purpose all the way till you're called home. And so it's like, to me, as long as I'm always making a difference in someone's life, whether I'm getting paid for it or not, and currently the way the costs are going, I'm going to have to get paid for everything until I die.
Yeah. The only closest thing to retirement in the Bible is just God saying, you know what, come on up.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I would love to be the next Enoch. Just let me avoid death all day long and beam me up.
Or like Elijah, just send me a fiery chariot. I'll hop in.
That works too.
Yep, that's the retirement.
Yeah, it's funny. Yep. Well, what's really nice too is that with the people that I am friends with, like you and others, I know they would never want to retire.
Yeah.
It's just like,
that's the thing when you're doing a passion. I mean, W-2 jobs are things people retire from usually.
Yeah.
And when you're doing what God made you to do, I mean, well, let's say even in a W-2 job, if that's what God made you to do, you don't even want to retire from that. But yeah, you can tell when somebody's in their passion place or not.
Right. Exactly. They're calm. They're not stressed.
Yeah. They don't mind going to work.
Right. Well, and it feels really weird. I was like walking through my house and I'm thanking the Lord. I'm like, Lord, I love working from home. This is amazing. I don't have to deal with what's out in the world.
Yep. Well, I'll tell you what, Wendy, I'm going to go ahead and go, but I really appreciate you joining us. I'll let you get back to work so you can birth out another book.
Yep, I actually just finished launching, putting one on KDP right before we got on. So more to do.
That's awesome.
So thank you.
All right. Much. Well, I'll put everything in the show notes and hopefully send some people to you that are ready to work on getting that thing finally out there.
Sounds great.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, guys, Dr. Dave here. So I get a lot of questions from people what I'm either drinking or snacking on during some of these podcasts. And so if you're listening to this, I'll explain. But if you're watching on YouTube, I'll show you. And so my wife picked these up. I think she got them at Sam's Club. Wild protein chips. I just ate one, just a single one. And this thing is spicy. I'm not a guy that handles spicy things well. Matter of fact, if there was more light in here, the power's out right now. If there was more light, you'd see the sweat breaking out of my head. And everything's red right now. You can probably see that anyway, like a red glow. These things are pretty spicy. I've only eaten one so far, but it's buffalo-style crispy chips. I was afraid these were going to be like cheese doodle, those big, ugly, fat cheese doodle ones, the nasty one. I hate those things that like put in your mouth and they just kind of melt in your mouth. I hate those. I was afraid it was going to be like those, but no, these are actually like chips. These are chips. But here's the thing, made from real ingredients, including chicken breast, egg whites, and chicken bone broth. Chickens raised without antibiotics. That's good. It's pretty neat though. I mean, the flavor is amazing. Oh, okay. There's a salty chip and a finger licking chicken chip in here. So that's what I'm snacking on during today's podcast and drinking a G Fuel right now. You drink energy drinks, limit yourself to one a day. Don't drink more than one energy drink a day. I was talking to a friend the other day. And I think he drinks Celsius drinks like water, and it'll kill you that way. So I don't drink soda usually unless I'm out. I'm trying to get in the habit of not drinking soda unless I'm out at a restaurant or something. And, but got my Nalgene bottle, of course, and I got some water mix in here because I don't like the flavor or non-flavor of the plain old water. So I put a water mix in there, drink a couple of those a day. And then let me do a pitch for them. And by the way, none of this is paid sponsorships. This is just everybody's curious what I eat and drink. So this one, though, is not really a paid sponsorship, but I am doing some work with these folks. I just got off of a meeting with the folks from Earth First Organic. They make multivitamins, they make supplements, and it's all from regenerative farming sources, things like that. I've taken a lot of supplements and vitamins in my day. And when Nikki from Earth First asked me today, what did I like about the vitamins? One of the first things I told her is that this thing does not upset my stomach. I've taken Centrum and some of the other just basic multivitamins. These things make me sick. I have to eat a full meal and then take it so it doesn't make me sick. And these are amazing. So I had this sitting on the desk just because I just got out of a meeting with them and wanted to might as well tell you about them too. Earth First Organics, and that's probably the website too. I'm sure it's on here. Let me find the website. It's earthfirstorganic.com. Like I say, it's dark in here. I can't see hardly anything. Power's still out with the hurricane. All right, y'all take care. Hey guys, Dr. Dave here. Just wanted to tell you, you know what? I don't know if this is going to turn out to sound more like a rant or inspiration. I just don't know yet. I know what I want it to seem like, but I'm not sure how it's going to come across to you. But I'm just going to shoot for it, and you guys can let me know in the comments what you think and which way you thought it went. Now, I promise this still in the hurricane sessions right now, no AC or anything. So if it looks like I'm sweating on the YouTube version of this, I am. It is. There's been no power, no AC times 7 days as of today, and we've been blessed. The weather's been pretty decent. It's just down here in my basement office, though. There's no air movement, and I start sweating. My beard gets frizzy. It's horrible. The beard just goes crazy. But like I said, we've been blessed. But here's the thing I wanted to talk about today that might come out rant or inspiration. I'm not sure. I do my best to encourage all of you to pursue the entrepreneurial life because I think it's the best way to go. I think entrepreneurialism, small business, not government employment, not corporate employment. I believe that is the keystone of America. It has been since day one. In America, I guess in a way. I mean, the Hudson Bay Company and all that, but just small businesses, entrepreneurs, people doing their own thing has always been a source of freedom in our country. And so that's one of the reasons why I encourage entrepreneurialism. Another reason is because family. I mean, it gives you the freedom and the ability to spend as much time as you want with your family, as much time as you can. I mean, let's be honest. If you're an entrepreneur like me, you realize that the work never ends, especially if you have a home office like I do. The work never ends, and you have to try your best to be careful. In many ways, it makes work-life balance harder. But one of the things I have tried to cultivate for a great many years now is eating as many meals as possible with my kids, being there for every sports game, unless there's a special occasion or I'm out of town, being there for every time they're on a playing field with baseball, basketball, football, all the things my kids are into. My daughter's a runner, all those things, being there for it, working my work around it. And so here's the part that I'm not sure how you'll receive it. But a couple of disclaimers about the entrepreneurial life, a couple of warnings, just to warn you before you embark on this path. If you're in a W-2 job and you're seeking more freedom, you have to carve it out. To be an entrepreneur, you have to carve it out. It's going to take a lot of work. It's way worth it. Way worth it, though, but it will take a lot of work. But here's the thing. It's not always appreciated. Your family will complain sometimes that you work too much. I mean, it's weird, but a lot of the parents that have W-2 jobs, their kids have grown up with dad or mom or both disappearing for 8, 10, 12 hours a day. Whether you work a shift job, Lowe's, retail, or you work nursing or EMS where you're gone for 24 hours, they get used to that and tend to not complain about it. But being an entrepreneur, I've gotten lots of complaints about how much I work. I've gotten lots of Like the kids don't really complain directly to me, but I get lots of grumbling and complaints to my wife, other people that's relayed to me sometimes about how dad's always working and dad's always in the office. And, we want all the nice things, but we want dad to not work so much. And so you tend to get that more as an entrepreneur than you do in a W-2 job. And also here's the thing is you set a goal and you set a mission. Like for me, one of those things was as much time as possible with my kids. And so for me, that means vacations. It means our 1 day a week where homeschooling stops basically, and we go outside and we go kayaking or hiking. Or yesterday, since we just got through the hurricane, we went to the recreation gym in our little town of Liberty, South Carolina, and they had open gym times. And so we went there and we played pickleball and basketball and threw a football around in the gym. And the kids got to hang out with some other kids that were out of school because all the schools have been canceled for a week now. And the thing is, I enjoy it. And that's the point. If you set a goal like that, especially time with family, make sure that you enjoy it. Because here's the thing. While they're kids, your kids may not really care. They may not act like it even matters to them or it's even important. And that hurts. It hurts a lot because you work so hard to make that time available. And sometimes if you're not careful and you let yourself get into a pity party mode, which I do quite often, I got to watch that. I'm naturally a pessimist and I have to be real careful, or mess up with words there. They come out sometimes wrong. You have to be real careful to not let that get a hold of you, because when my kids when they're ungrateful or don't appreciate what I've done for them or the time I spend with them, I have to remember that, you know what, I guess in a way it's for me, so that I can spend time with them and rest in the hope that they'll remember that later on. Maybe they'll spend more time with their kids because of that. Maybe later on they'll remember those times, but when they're young, don't worry about it. Another thing, and this is kind of cool, in the midst of all this hurricane tragedy and the loss of power and internet and everything else for us right now, the UPS guy came the other day and dropped off this box for me. And this is really cool. I'm going to show you what's in it. And this is part of my disclaimer about being an entrepreneur is I got this amazing award from a company called Yellowwood. Many of you are not going to be familiar with Yellowwood, but I guarantee you have used their products or they've been used at your house. Yellowwood is probably the world's largest producer of yellow pine lumber. In other words, when you go to Lowe's or Home Depot or wherever you buy your lumber from, or wherever you buy anything from and you see lumber, most of that lumber, the 2x4s, 2x6s, 2x10s, everything comes from Yellowwood. It's treated pine wood, pressure treated pine lumber. And so I got an award from Yellowwood. It's pretty amazing. And I'll show you the award, but you're going to think, David, that's awesome. And then I'll tell you the caveat though. And so let's see. You have demonstrated your commitment to others over and over during your military service and your decades as a paramedic. After 9/11, you were a founding member of the Department of Homeland Security as a disaster medic. Many times you deployed to disaster sites to set up field hospitals for folks who had lost everything, kind of like right now during the hurricane. During all this time, you have also been a proud dad of 5 kids, finding ways to enjoy a large family and still help others. Today, you continue your life of service by teaching, training, and writing. Although you always give credit to others, it's time you were recognized too. While we could only have one winner, we were so moved by stories such as yours that we felt compelled to modify our original plans and find a way to recognize our top 20 finalists. Isn't that awesome? Top 20 finalists in the whole country. Please accept the enclosed American flag display and certificate of recognition as our appreciation of your acts of service. It is my honor to be part of the recognition of a true hero. And so this was the Yellowwood 5-Star Hero Award. I know that was real blurry if you're watching this on YouTube. And let me show you what they sent me. It's amazing. I'm not sure where I'm going to put it yet, but I guarantee probably in future podcasts, you'll see it behind me on the mantle there. But look at this. This is awesome. They sent me a folded American flag, and it actually came with a certificate for the flag itself. Folded American flag and a finalist certificate. I can see the glare right there because none of the lights are on. But That's pretty amazing. I'm really excited about that. And especially since, I mean, I don't do as much of that kind of stuff anymore. Most of my work now is with you and with the family. And it's just really amazing to be recognized. But here's the caveat. I told you I'd get to that. So first, let's all just pause a moment and think how awesome this is. Not that I was awesome and got the award, but it's just amazing to get stuff like this out of the blue, in the mail, stuff I knew about the awards for that because I get a lot of emails about that kind of stuff. But to realize that I was nominated and got one, that was amazing. But here's the caveat. All right, y'all ready? Got this the other day in the mail, and oh no, it's my family was here with me when I got it. Showed it to them. Everybody's like, "Oh, that's neat." And then it's like nobody really cares. That's you'll probably care more than my family did, and I get it. I'm just dad or husband to them. Nothing special. I mean, it's weird, but I've done things in the military and other places that they see on movies. They see people doing this stuff, and they're like, "Oh, that's so awesome! That's so neat. Wish my dad was that cool." And guess what? Dad used to be that cool, and Dad still does things. But when you're family, they don't really think about it that way. And so I guess it was a bit of a downer. I don't really know what I expected. I guess I expected a little more than, "Oh, that's neat. All right, I'm going to go play outside now." So like I say, trying not to let myself get pessimistic about that because I don't know what I expected. I guess just a little more recognition from within the family as I get outside of the family. But I just wanted to tell you that as an entrepreneur, I'm going to do everything I can to encourage you to go down this path, to find multiple streams of income that work for you, for your life, for your family, for your personality, that meshes all that into your passions and what God has set for you to do in life. But it's not always going to be easy. But you know what? The thing is, you work a W-2 job, you got a boss telling you what to do. There's going to be pluses and minuses there too. But I think entrepreneurialism is the way to go. I think unless you need a W-2 job because of what your passion and your goal is. I mean, let's say if you're a paramedic, it's going to be hard to do something outside of a W-2 job that gets you that experience and that fulfillment. If you're a doctor, I mean, there are ways to be entrepreneurial in that, but there are some people that I know have to have a W-2 job to fulfill God's calling for their life. But for the rest of you, I want you to do it. I want you to do it. Just know that there are going to be some downers along the way, and you just got to be prepared for that. It's going to happen. You get a little low about it. That's normal, but don't rest in that. If you got a podcast, warn people about it. I'm feeling better already talking to you about it. And so tell you what, though, do me a favor in the comments. Why don't you comment or email? I mean, you can do it wherever you're watching this or listening to it. Let me know. That's just this stuff I've talked about. That's just me. Let me know some of the things that affected you as an entrepreneur that maybe got you down for a little bit, that maybe you weren't prepared for, that maybe you can help the rest of us be on the alert for or to prepare for so it doesn't bother us as much. All right, so this is Dr. Dave signing out. Still trying to do these Zooms from my phone, and the buttons are all in different places. So let's find that record button and stop it. Y'all take care.